Welcome everyone. Hi, my name is Dr. Rappy. First off, I'd like to honor you for contacting our office to find out more about reversing type 2 diabetes. This video could literally change your life. It's changed many other people's lives. We're going to go through a lot of information, so it's going to be pretty fast-paced. There'll be some really informational slides that we're going to show you. But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself and my background. Again, my name is Dr. Rappy. I've been in the private practice in the Coachella Valley for 27 years. I graduated in 1989 with my doctorate degree, and since that time I've traveled across the country extensively studying with and training with other functional medicine doctors, receiving postgraduate studies in functional medicine. My main focus in my practice right now is functional medicine. The reason is because 75% of all the diseases out there are considered chronic degenerative disease. Type 2 diabetes fits right in the middle of that. That means that it's lifestyle dependent. What does lifestyle dependent mean? It means, very simply, that choices that we make on an everyday basis determines whether that disease will continue to be chronic or whether we can reverse it. And that's really what we do in our office. So again, I've mentioned functional medicine. Functional medicine is pretty straightforward. It's the identification of the underlying cause of your symptoms. Resolving that underlying cause will also then resolve the symptoms. You see, many of my very good friends work in that system over there they refer to as health care. I refer to it as crisis care because we go there when we're in crisis. You don't go there when you're healthy. So when you go to this place called crisis care, their number one tool in their toolbox is drugs. You show up, you present with a bunch of symptoms. Their job is to pick the right drugs to minimize your symptoms and to manage them for the rest of your life. It's not their fault. I'm not here to beat up your doctor. I'm not here to replace your doctor. I'm here to tell you there's another choice out there, a natural choice, and that's what we do in our office. It's called functional medicine. So again, we're going to go through a whole bunch of slides. It's going to be a wonderful information for you, but the goal really is this. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're tired of the excess weight that you can't get rid of, you're tired all the time, you can't participate with the family activities, play with your kids or your grandkids, there's just all of these things. This diabetes has affected you in a negative way. If you're fed up with that, if you've realized, or at the end of this video you may realize, that that system is not the solution for you, that the continuation of more and more and more diabetic drugs and then high blood pressure medications and then all these other medications that go along with it, if you're ready to do something different, if you've decided I've got to change because this is literally going to take me to my grave, you've come to the right place. I appreciate the opportunity to show you our program and to let you know how we really help people and turn their lives around. Thank you very much. Reversing type 2 diabetes. So we all know doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome, is the true definition of insanity. That was said by Albert Einstein. What I say is if you want a different outcome, you've got to do something different. So let's take a look at a few slides here. First, what about our broken healthcare system? Big pharmaceutical companies are a big part of the problem. They're in business to make money. They don't care about you, your family, or anybody else. They have shareholders that they're responsible to, and that's it. So they're interested in money. The insurance companies, they're involved as well. They take your premium dollars, they give you less and less and less. Your deductibles have gone up, your co-payments have gone up, and they provide less services. The bottom line for both of these companies, or these parts of the healthcare profession, is money. They're interested in that one thing. This is how it works. The advertising they use, the marketing they do. Look at their commercials on TV. People are singing and dancing and they make it look so good and everybody's happy. But if you were to listen to the side effects that they list that happen to you if you take these pills, you would never take them. So there's a lot of things going on with their marketing and the way they try to get us to believe the only way to treat a disease is by using a drug. It's all about money for them. Over the last 50 years or so, the pharmaceutical industry has figured out the way to maximize their dollars or their profits is very simple. Instead of developing drugs to correct the underlying cause, of what's wrong with you, they've developed drugs that will minimize your symptoms and manage them for the rest of your life. Minimize your symptoms and manage them for the rest of your life to maximize their profits. That's why people are on drugs for so many years. You may be on drugs for many years. You might be on drugs for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20, 30 years. Think about this. At what point over that period of time were these drugs going to correct the underlying cause? Well, the answer is they're not, because that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to minimize and manage. We're going to see that as we go through some of the slides here, so you're going to see that. In the system that I refer to as crisis care, the healthcare system that my friends work in, and they're good, honest, kind, generous people. They want to help you, but they have to use what's in their toolbox. They're handcuffed by laws and licensure and regulations to prescribe you a drug based on your symptoms. That's what's in their toolbox. And so the pharmaceutical companies really drives that system over there. And that's why many people like you are on multiple medications for diabetes or diabetic meds, as well as high blood pressure meds and whatnot, and they're not really correcting the cause. They're minimizing your symptoms and managing it for the rest of your life so they can maximize their profits. We take a completely different approach in our office. The bottom line is, if you're stuck in the broken system that I refer to as crisis care, that all of my friends refer to as health care, if you're stuck in that system, their solution for you, a type 2 diabetic, is prescription drugs for life. So let's look at some diabetic facts. 30 million people are diabetic. 80 million people in the United States are pre-diabetic. Diabetes is the #1 cause of blindness and kidney failure. People with diabetes are 4 times more likely to have a heart attack and or a stroke. If not reversed, 70% of diabetics will develop neuropathy, even on medications. Lastly, is diabetes has tripled since the 1980s, and it's projected to triple again between now and 2030. How about another diabetic fact? Diabetes is a chronic degenerative disease. What does that mean? That means that it's lifestyle dependent. That means that we can make changes, that we can have a dramatic effect. And in our office, we reverse diabetes, and we're going to show you how we do that. But diabetes is a chronic degenerative disease. That means that it's lifestyle dependent. What does that also mean? According to the Center of Disease Control, diabetes is preventable and controllable. Therefore, it's reversible. So we know some of the complications, but let's just go through them. You may suffer from one or multiple of these particular complications. Weight gain. Weight gain is a classic sign of individuals that we see that are diabetics, they're on medications, but they still gain all of this weight. Neuropathy, we just mentioned that. 70% of diabetics will develop neuropathy even though they're taking medication. Peripheral vascular disease. What this really means is we start losing the vascularization to the tissues in our extremities, and therefore the tissues will start to die. So they'll start to snip off toes, fingers, feet, legs, whatever they need to. When tissue dies, it has to be removed. So peripheral vascular disease is a particularly dangerous and horrible side effect of diabetes. Heart attacks and strokes, we mentioned that just in the previous slides. 4 times more likely to have a heart attack or a stroke as a diabetic. Eye disease, the number one issue is diabetes is driving eye disease. Also kidney failure. I've seen many clients who've come into us who are diabetics, and their medications are actually making their kidneys fail, or their kidneys are becoming worse based on the medications they're on. So our goal is to help you through this process, and if you can reduce or minimize the need for medications, take the pressure off the kidneys so you don't have kidney dysfunction or kidney failure, the last thing that you want is to end up in dialysis 3 or 4 days a week, 5 days a week. It's a horrible life. You don't want that. It's a huge burden on your family. Think about this. A huge burden on your family, not only financially, but emotionally. Emotionally, what does that mean? That means maybe you can't participate with your kids. If you've got young kids, you can't participate with your grandkids. You can't participate in certain activities with your spouse, whether it's your husband or your wife. Maybe your family outings aren't the same because they all want to go and hike and bike and whatnot, and you're unable to do that. So it can be a huge burden on the family as well as far as the family activities go and our family unity. And then loss of life is a huge complication. We see this when people put off doing something about their diabetes. They're stuck in that system that I refer to as crisis care, and it only makes their diabetes worse. Year after year after year, they become sicker and sicker, more and more drugs to try to manage their disease. And what happens eventually is we have a loss of life. And that has a terrible, terrible effect, long-term effect on our family, whether it's our spouse, whether it's our kids or our grandkids. That's the last thing that we want. This is the true underlying cause of diabetes. What we see is insulin surges cause insulin resistance. You see, every single person who's been diagnosed as a diabetic had to be a pre-diabetic first. Okay? They had to be a pre-diabetic first in order to get to the diabetes. It's during that pre-diabetic stage that your doctor rarely ever talks about it because there isn't a drug that he can prescribe for pre-diabetes. This is where what we do is so incredibly important. If you're pre-diabetic or you're already a diabetic, the reason is because you've had insulin surges and they've caused what's called insulin resistance. And it's a progressive scenario. The more resistance, the more resistance, the more resistance, the less our insulin works. The more we have resistance to insulin, the less our insulin works, the higher our blood sugars. When they give you a drug, the drug they're giving you is an insulin-based drug. Instead of putting more insulin in to try to lower your blood sugar, our goal is to reduce and eliminate the insulin resistance, which is the true underlying cause. Here's normal physiology. We have glucose and insulin. Glucose is what your foods break down into glucose, which is a sugar. Insulin is a hormone that's produced and it's released by the pancreas based on the glucose in your blood. Here's your normal cell. So when we eat foods, we have all of this glucose that builds up into our bloodstream. Our pancreas produces insulin. The insulin's job is to take glucose from the bloodstream to the cell for energy. So that's normal physiology. There you go. That's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. But because of the great American lifestyle that we have, high stress, high job, requirements, lack of sleep, lack of exercise, horrible eating habits, all of these things are what help drive insulin resistance. We build up this insulin resistance along the cell membrane. Now, every time I eat food and it turns into glucose and my insulin tries to go into the cell, it's blocked. It's not allowed to lock into the receptor sites and do its job. It's resisted or it's repelled and pushed away. So what happens? Your blood sugars go up. Your A1C goes up. And eventually your doctor says you need metformin or some other form of diabetic medication. When they give that to me, it increases the amount of insulin in my blood, and so a little bit more glucose gets into the cell, but my resistance will also grow. My resistance will continue to grow against that insulin, and my blood sugars go back up. When my blood sugars go back up, they continue to add more and more medication. They up my dose, they up the dose, they up the dose until I've maxed out on that one dose. If you're one of those individuals, you know what happens next. They give you another drug. So now I'm taking 2 insulin medications to try to get the glucose out of my blood and into the cell. But it just continues to build more resistance. That's why they have to continue to elevate or to increase the dosages. Eventually, they'll put you on to an insulin injection multiple times a day. So what do we do in our office? What makes us so different? How we're so successful helping diabetics is very straightforward. There it is. That's the insulin being blocked right there. We want to eliminate insulin resistance and resensitize the insulin receptors. When we do that, we break down and eliminate the insulin resistance. There it goes, right there. And that allows the insulin now to lock into the receptor sites and deliver its glucose. That's the key. Let me repeat it again. With reversing type 2 diabetes, we've got to eliminate the insulin resistance and resensitize the cell receptors. When we do that, your body's own insulin being produced by your pancreas will do its job like it's supposed to. We can lower your blood sugar and everything will work normally and naturally. Let's take a look at diagnostic tests. This will give you a little understanding of why, even though your laboratory tests are you're taking medications, that your laboratory tests are still off. Everybody knows what hemoglobin A1C is. That's the main test that they use for diabetes. It's 4.0 to 6.5. Anywhere in this range here, that's going to be normal in your doctor's eyes. He's going to say you're fine. He might even say, well, just cut out some of the sugars. Well, what does that mean, cut out sugars? What does that mean exactly? Well, no one knows because no one's trained us. So in functional medicine, we use our narrower range, and you can see 4.8 to 5.6. We want to keep your hemoglobin A1C in this range here. When we do that, we're able to manage what's going on in your body. If it gets too low, we've got a problem we need to address right away. If it gets above 5.6, that's considered pre-diabetes. Between 5.6 and 6.5 is the range your doctor cannot write you a prescription for drug. There is no drug for pre-diabetes. That's where we need to help you resolve your underlying issue. If you haven't reached 6.5, we need to reverse your insulin resistance, and by doing that, we will put you back into the 4.8 to 5.6 range. If you're already a type 2 diabetic and taking diabetic medications, our goal is to reduce and eliminate insulin resistance in your body. By doing that, we're going to lower your need and or requirements for or your dependency on diabetic medications, and your blood sugars will continue to come down. The more we reduce and eliminate your insulin resistance, the lower your blood sugar will go. Once you drop below the 6.5, the closer you get to 5.6, the happier your doctor should be. Number one, he should be really happy for you that this is happening. But number two, it's his responsibility to note that you don't need the medications anymore. If you get to 6.5 or lower, absolutely you shouldn't be on medication. There's no need for it. So really our goal is to use these functional ranges here to manage what's going on in your body. Anything above 5.6 is called pre-diabetes. Anything above 6.5 is called diabetes. So you can see here our ranges are a little narrower so we can really manage what's going on in your body. This is an example of one of our clients. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is an example. I'd like to zoom in a little bit here if I could, but let me point to you. This client came to us full-blown diabetic. This person was taking all kinds of medications, 2 oral medications, 2 injections of insulin 3 times a day. And when they came to us, their glucose level at fasting glucose was 207. Their hemoglobin A1C was 9.4. Now they were taking all of these medications, and their A1C was still 9.4. Why? Because what I just explained to you on the previous 2 slides. When I have insulin resistance and they give me a medication to lower my blood sugar, it's an insulin and it's going to add to the resistance. So as my resistance builds, my A1C will continue to climb. It'll drop temporarily, but it'll climb back up here. Again, this individual is on 2 oral medications as well as multiple insulin injections a day. They came on board with us. They started to walk through our program. We made all of the changes necessary. They were ready and willing to do something different because they were sick and tired of being sick and tired. They knew what was happening, that the insulin injections and the medications they were taking were really hard on their kidneys, so they had other multiple medications the doctor had them on. So they came on board with us. We walked them through the process, and you can see here, 4 months later, actually it's 3 months. 3 months later, Their fasting glucose was 46 and their hemoglobin A1C was 5.4. This individual is off all medications. They're in the functional range, 4.8 to 5.6, and we're managing them, and they're doing fantastic. They've never felt so good in their entire life. And this is what we can do for you too. We do it on a regular basis in our office. You have to be willing, you have to have a desire, you have to be motivated to do something different if you want a different outcome. Getting help. I use this slide because everybody out there that's watching this video should know. I happen to be a certified functional medicine practitioner. What does that mean? I went through an extensive course, very much like a master's degree in business, in functional medicine. So if you're going to work with somebody, if you're going to go down this path, if you're really committed to reducing your insulin resistance, getting off of your medication, and turning your life around, rebuilding your health from the ground up using all natural methods, you need to work with somebody who not only is certified, but has the experience. As I mentioned earlier in my curriculum vitae, I have 27 years of this kind of work. I've helped thousands and thousands of clients successfully turn their lives around and rebuild their health from the ground up using all natural methods. So again, it's important if you're going to work with someone, you need to find someone who's certified in functional medicine. What makes us so different and how do we get these amazing results? Well, it's pretty straightforward. First thing that we do is we order all the correct tests. We have to know everything we possibly can about you, your body, and all of your organ systems. Not just your hemoglobin A1C. We want to know what's going on in your liver. We want to know what's going on in your gut. We want to know what's going on with your kidneys and your adrenal glands. We want to know how all of your body is working together because they all overlap. You're an entire body. You're not just a pancreas. So we order all the correct tests. Then we want to determine the true underlying cause. And at that point, we want to focus on the cause, not the symptom. That's what they do in crisis care. What symptom do you have? What drug do you need? And remember, the drugs they're prescribing today, there's over 29,000 different drugs being prescribed today in America, the vast majority of which do not, let me repeat that, they do not correct the underlying cause. They minimize and they manage your symptoms to maximize the profits for the pharmaceutical industry. So we want to focus on the cause, not the symptom. Next, we want to correct the dysfunction and not alter your labs with drugs. The best example I could give you here would be cholesterol. People have high cholesterol. Rather than look for the true underlying cause of why their cholesterol is elevated, the doctor runs right to his prescription pad and writes out a statin. Well, let me tell you something. That statin number is not accurate, it's not true, it's not real. It's been altered with drugs. And we don't want to do that. We want to address the body as a whole. I just gave you some reasons why. Because your body is one unit. You're not just a kidney. You're not just a pancreas. You're not just a thyroid. You're an entire body. And all of your systems work together. We use a systematic approach. A systematic approach is really straightforward and simple. It's this. This program that we offer in our office has been put together over the last 25 years by doctors who know what works. It's tried, tested, and true. Okay? Everybody knows Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is fantastic. But this week, eat bacon, don't eat bacon, drink wine, don't drink wine. Back and forth they go. It's chaotic, and everybody that comes to us says it's so chaotic we don't know what to do. We've done all of the research for you. You don't have to go on Google and type in a question and get 10,000 pages of research that you're supposed to comb through and figure out what does it all mean. We've done it all for you. So we use a systematic, step-by-step, curriculum-based approach in our office. And lastly, but not least, mentoring. Mentoring and coaching is a huge part of why we're successful. First off, let me say this. I was in the 1984 Olympic trials as a pole vaulter. I didn't get to that level of athletics by myself. I had a weight trainer. I had a psychologist. I had a therapist. I had a massage therapist. I had all of these people helping me and coaching me and mentoring me to help elevate my skill set so that I could rise to that level of athletics. That's why we use mentoring and coaching in our office. It's because when you stumble and fall, we're there to pick you up, to dust you off, to get you back on track. When you have questions and you need an expert's opinion right away, we're always there for you. Through phone calls, consultations, emails, we're always available. This is why we use the mentoring and coaching, and this is why our success rate is so high. Did you know that the University of California did a study on all of the weight loss programs that are available out there? You know what I'm talking about. Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Medifast, Lindora. Heck, you can count calories until the cow jumps over the moon. You can literally starve yourself. Those programs do not work. And the reason they don't work is because they don't address the underlying cause. Okay? So the University of California finds that 98% of those people gain all their weight back. So it's important to know everything that we do in our program is science-based. It's based on science, and I can tell you this, that our success rate is in the 90%. Here's the 5 pillars of health. This is really how our program is set up, and these are the step-by-step processes that we go through. First, we treat the whole person by putting all these pieces together. The very first part of our program is detoxification. Why? Everyone has toxins that we haven't gotten rid of. They store in our body. We're exposed to toxins every single day. We've got to clean those toxins out. The toxicity in our body can block our hormone production, our hormone pathways. They can block our metabolic processes and our metabolic pathways. So they have this ability to disrupt our body's functioning from a normal standpoint. Okay? So these toxins we refer to as disruptogens. They disrupt our body's normally function. And we want to get our function back to normal if we can. And we do that through detoxification. The next thing we're going to roll into is nutrition. Why? There's lots of myths out there about nutrition. What we should do, what you shouldn't do. I just gave you an example of Dr. Oz. And that's one example, but there's many other ones out there. We need to teach you what you need to eat to be healthy and what you should stop eating that's making you sick. In many of the cases and clients that we work with in our office, there's many individuals who have food allergies they're not aware of. When I have a food allergy, it affects me in a negative way. So we're going to identify all of that through our nutrition. We're going to get you eating all the best foods to help maintain the reversal of type 2 diabetes that we're doing in our office. We also have to add fitness. Why is fitness so important? Not only do we need to move our bodies, but when we move our bodies and we do fitness and exercise, we have all these great endorphins and these enkephalins and all these great hormones that make us feel good and young and youthful and sexy and give us zest for life. They're all produced and dumped into our bloodstream. In addition to that, just the moving of our muscles will help reduce and lower your blood sugar. Actually, there's a study out that shows that just by exercising muscles, we can reduce our blood sugar more efficiently and better than metformin, the #1 drug that your doctor would prescribe for diabetes. So fitness is important. Now don't be overwhelmed when I say fitness. I'm talking about maximizing your fitness so you're more efficient. We want you to do better exercise, more efficient exercise in a shorter period of time. I'm not talking about 2.5 hours in the gym 6 days a week. That's a waste of time. I'm talking about 30 minutes 3 times a week. We can start you out at 15 minutes 3 times a week if that's what your fitness level is. But the bottom line is we want to build our way up to do a minimum of 30 minutes 3 times a week of very specific types of exercises that will stimulate all of the good hormones and shut off all the bad ones. In addition to that, lowering our blood sugar. Hormones, we test your hormones at the very beginning of the program because hormones are really incredibly important. There's over 600 hormones in the body, and when they get out of balance, bad things can happen. An example is in a female, we have to make sure her sex hormones are balanced because if her sex hormones get out of balance, bad things could happen. If she becomes an estrogen-dominant female, an estrogen-dominant female has the potential to develop breast cancer. Millions of women have died from breast cancer, estrogen-dominant breast cancer. So one hormone being out of balance could literally cost you your life. So we test you at the beginning. We identify what areas need to be increased or decreased. It's important. That's what helps us get the results that we do. balancing hormones. And lastly, as I mentioned in the previous slides, mentoring and coaching is an absolutely huge part of what we do. Your success is our success. We will do everything and anything in our power to make sure that you're successful and you can achieve the goals that you've set for yourself within this program. Lastly, 94% of failure is due to not having a system. We know that because it's been tried and true. This came out of a study that I read that showed 94% of failures because people don't have a system how to apply the information they're learning. Is knowledge powerful? Ask yourself, is knowledge powerful? Most people would say yes. I say knowledge is only powerful if I take action and apply the knowledge. I mean, think about this. I could read a book off a library shelf and gain all that knowledge, but if I don't take action and apply the knowledge, nothing is going to change. Nothing will happen. So you've got to have a system to apply that knowledge. You've got to have support through mentoring and coaching in order for you to be successful. Ask yourself the following questions. This is really important. First off, what would my life be like if I were able to resolve my health issues? How has my life been affected? How has my life been affected in a negative way? I can't spend time with my wife. I can't spend time with my kids. We don't go on the vacations that I'd like to go on. I can't participate in certain activities. There's a whole list of things of how it can negatively affect you. You just have to be willing to be honest with yourself and say, you're right, I can't do the things that I used to do. I can't participate in activities with my family on vacation or whatnot. How about my relationships? I mentioned your wife earlier, your husband, your spouse. How about my relationship with my spouse? Is it what it used to be before I was a diabetic? How about my ability to work? Maybe I can't work as hard. Maybe I get tired too quickly. And lastly, my ability to enjoy life and have fun. You know, life is more than just work. We've got to enjoy life, what little we have. Life is a short period of time that we're here on this earth, and we want to enjoy as much of it as we possibly can and have some fun. And if your type 2 diabetes is keeping you from that, you're being cheated. But the key is you're cheating yourself. You need to take whatever steps necessary to change the outcome. Lastly, ask yourself on a 1 to 10 scale, how motivated am I to make the appropriate changes? Why? Because there is no magic pill. There is no magic formula. You have to be motivated to do what it takes to turn this thing around. If they're telling you they're going to cut your toes off, you've got to do everything you can to keep that from happening. And a part of that is motivation. It's all about motivation. If you're motivated, if you really truly are ready to do the things necessary, I guarantee you this program will help you. But you've got to be in that mindset. It's all about where you are in your mind. So what's next? I hope that you've learned a little bit watching these slides and hearing the things that we have to say and seeing what's the true underlying cause of your diabetes. I want you to also know that there is another choice out there for you. You just have to be willing to move down that path. This is our passion. This is our life. This is what we do. We live this program. We breathe this program. And we have helped people turn their diabetes around. Just like the slide I showed you, the individual who had a 9.4 A1C down to 5.4. Unbelievable. So what's next? It's pretty straightforward. If what we've said today in this video, if what you've learned from us in this video makes sense to you and you're ready to take action, you're ready to take action and move forward with doing something different, you're truly motivated to do something different and turn your life around and take your health back. You've got to become the captain of your own ship. Once again, our goal is to educate you to a place where you're independent in your own health. So what's next is pretty simple. We offer a consultation in our office. We start with the type 2 diabetic lifestyle evaluation. That consists of a consultation. If the consultation is something you're interested in, you're going to receive some paperwork from us. You'll probably download it off our website. You're going to fill this out completely, answer every single question. The better you fill out the paperwork, the better I'll know about you, all of your organ systems, and everything that's going on with you. Okay? If you have laboratory tests, Contact your doctor's office and say, look, doc, can I get the lab tests from the last 2 years? I really would like a copy of them. Can you email them to me? If they won't email them, can you make a copy? I'll come pick them up. And even so, can you email them or can you fax them to this doctor's office? The key here is, I love to look at the blood labs because I might be able to show you some things that your doctor's not mentioning to you. Okay? So along with that consultation, I'm going to then take all that information, I'm going to customize a program specifically to what your needs and desires are and what you've set for goals. The length of curriculum means how long is your program going to take? How long are we going to have to do the work necessary to get the results that we're looking for? As we go through all of this information, I'm going to lay out a plan of action. What does it look like if we decide to work together and we move forward? What does that look like? A plan of action means I'm going to give you very specific steps that we are going to take along the way. Okay? So again, if everything that we've said today makes sense, if you really truly are in a place where you're ready and willing to do something different, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's time. It's time for you to take this first step, to apply the knowledge that you've learned in this video and take action and call our office and set up a consultation. Now, what I'll do for you is this. I'm going to set up an hour of time in my office. If you want to come in for a consultation, I'll set up an entire hour of my time so that you and I can sit down, go through all your paperwork, look at your labs, and lay everything out for you like I just described. So I'm going to set up an hour of time. What's important is you need to understand this, is I have a fee for my time. So a fee for my normal hour of time is pretty straightforward. My normal fee is $287. But because you contacted our office, because you watched this video, we've pre-educated you, because you have a pretty good idea of what functional medicine is and what the steps are in our program, I'm going to reduce that by $200 and make it a simple $87. That's called skin in the game. That's my way of reaching out to you with an olive branch and saying, look, I care about you. I want you to be another success story in this office. Hi, it's Dr. Rappy again. Listen, first off, I just want to honor you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that the information in this video opened your eyes as to there's another option out there for you. Our goal is to help you. Our goal is to help you be successful, whatever that looks like. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're ready to make a change, you've realized that that system over there called crisis care and all the drugs have not resolved your type 2 diabetes. You actually have gotten worse. If you're ready to make a change, I look forward to seeing you in the office. I look forward to going over all your paperwork and your labs and customizing a program specifically for you that will literally change your life. So please, call my office now for a one-on-one consultation. The number is 777-4177. Call now. My staff will set you up for your one-on-one consultation, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to change your life. Think about it like this. It's the decision you make right now is what will dictate the future of your health for years to come. Thank you very much.